Sid and Friends in the morning.
77 WABC.
Well, who do we have on now? We have Charlie Gasparino has a new book, Go Woke, Go Broke. And Charlie, there are so many things going on. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, it's Go Woke, Go Broke, the radicalization of corporate America. And I just want to give a special thanks, John, to Kamala Harris, who has put wokeness on the map by saying how great it is, how everybody must be woke. And she just sold me thousands of copies of my book. And I just want to, a special thanks to Kamala Harris for putting woke on the map.
Is she going to make a personal appearance?
I am going to sign a copy for Kamala. And because without her, I couldn't afford a very expensive vacation to Sardinia in a few months.
Well, sounds good. What is going on with the markets? What do you think is happening? And the polls have not looked good lately.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this stuff all evens out. I mean, no one's really paying attention right now. By the way, that's why they released my book now, because when it really comes down to it, people are in summer mode. They want a good summer read. My book is a good summer read. If you want to be both angered and laugh a lot about corporate America going so far left that they put trans influencers in beer commercials and flick in same-sex kissing scenes into cartoons, this is for you. And it's probably places where most people work and they don't like it. And, I write about the beginning and how it's coming to an end. But the presidential campaign, John, is an interesting one because you literally have two of the most woke people and the politicians on the planet between Kamala Harris, who doesn't hide it. She brags about it. We've caught her bragging about it. And this guy Walsh from Minnesota, the governor, who signs into law like free tuition for illegal aliens and transgender surgeries for kids. I mean, this guy is wokeness on steroids against two very non-woke people, Donald Trump and JD Vance. I seem to think, John, that Trump's going to pull this out. He's going to get his act together, which they already are, because I know people inside the campaign. I've been talking to them. He's going to get his act together, and he's going to go full on just how not just woke Kamala Harris is and how stupid it is. By the way, if you read my book, you'll laugh at a lot of this stuff. And you're going to be laughing at a lot of the stuff that Kamala Harris stands for in the next couple of weeks. Trust me on this, and months. But also just how she's so unqualified for the job. She has no clue. Did you see her recently explain what inflation is? I mean, it was like worse than it was like infantile almost. It was.
She hasn't had a press conference since she's been named the candidate.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we're going to go against. We're going to go against a party that is so left-wing, so woke, and, transgender greeters at the White House. By the way, Disney did that. I do this whole thing in the book about how Disney brought that on. And by the way, people stopped going to the parks. They lost a lot of money. That's why the new CEO is reversing himself. It's all in the book.
Now, Charlie Gasparino, Curtis Lewy. I know you a long time, Charlie.
How are you?
Tough guy from the Bronx and Westchester. Your dad was a boxer, right?
No, my dad was an ironworker. He had a lot of fights in his life.
All right, so now I'm going to ask you a tough question about woke. Summer of 2020, Black Lives Matter, Antifa take over the streets. Fortune 500 companies just capitulate and turn Black Lives Matter into big, large mansions. They're one of the biggest realtor firms in America now. Tell me if this is true. I don't want to believe it. Very dear friend of yours, and John Katsimatidis, Greek boy from Queens, who even Donald Trump recently had a conversation with Jamie Dimon of Chase. Would you consider possibly being Secretary of Treasury if I get elected president? He didn't go up after his heart surgery to Mount Kisco to the Chase branch and bow and take a knee to Black Lives Matter. Say it ain't so, Charlie. Say it ain't so.
Well, it's all in the book. So what happened was, and I described this in the book, corporate America, the banks in particular, went like nuts on wokeness after George Floyd. I mean, sensitivity training seminars for CRT. You would think that it was, corporate America was Mississippi 1965 or something. I mean, it was really nuts, and it was really a disservice to their employees, and I chronicle it all. Jamie Dimon was part of that movement. Jamie Dimon, at one point, besides virtue signaling endlessly, with statements and putting $36 billion, loan program for underserved, communities, which I asked him about the efficacy of that. Like, does it work? And they still haven't gotten back to me. It's in the book. But he went up to Mount Kisco, and he was visited a branch during all this stuff. And there was this big photo of him taking a knee. And no one could understand why he was taking a knee, because it was like this sort of wide lens. I mean, there was no need. It was like you could stand up and you could fit the picture. So we asked him at the time, hey, were you taking a knee for Black Lives Matter? And lo and behold, his PR people were like, write whatever you want. We don't care. They were confirming it, tacitly confirming it. So everybody wrote, he took a knee. So when I go back to them to fact check the book, and it's in there, I said, okay, I'm going to put this thing in about Jamie taking a knee. They're like, oh, yeah, but you keep saying it's because of Black Lives Matter. He just needed to fit in the photo. The photo, he wasn't big enough for him to fit in, so he just took a knee. He doesn't support Black Lives Matter now. I mean, it's the dumbest thing. But,
couldn't he have said, Charlie, he had just had very serious heart surgery, I remember, very serious.
Yeah, he's like, listen, Jamie's I know Jamie for years, but, like the rest of them, he's full of it. And by the way, he never met with Trump. Trump blurted his name out and said, I would consider him a Treasury Secretary, and then later did a 180. Trump did meet with Larry Fink, who's in the book, the head of BlackRock, Mr. ESG. But again, Larry, they're all doing 180s. They're all like becoming much more moderate. Larry, we should point out, was Trump's money manager for a time. I write about this. So they do have a pre-existing relationship. But all these CEOs are now trying to run for cover. And John, this is why I think Trump's going to win. Corporate wokeness failed miserably. I mean, Budweiser, when they put a trans influencer in a Budweiser commercial, they've been losing market share ever since. They went from number 1 Bud Light to number 3 now. They're going so non-woke that Anheuser-Busch is teaming up with Dana White over at the UFC. Even they're talking about to sponsor his latest thing called Power Slap. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, slap. That's like slap boxing in the street with thugs who just got out of prison. They slap box in prison. They slap box in the streets. I've been involved in that, Charlie.
Yeah,
I've been involved in that.
I know you have. Listen, I love you, Curtis. I've known you for years. You're the real thing. But I was so think about this. Budweiser is now trying to reverse wokeness because it's so bad for business that they've gone from a trans woman influencer in a bubble bath sipping a Bud Light.
My God.
To Power Slap.
Oh, my God.
Now, how do you get that? I mean, again, it's all in the book. I lay it out. I also lay out in the book how we got there. But my bigger point is wokeness failed on corporate America, and it's going to fail in the presidential campaign. These two are the woke, Dumb and Dumber of wokeness. Waltz, and I mean, I wonder if they even vetted Waltz for all his wokeness. The transgender stuff, the illegal immigrants, go up and down the line. I see Kamala Harris just fumbling this thing where she picked some guy because he seemed to check boxes like she does. And, Midwestern white dude where you want to run with him, but you don't want the Jewish white guy because that will, annoy the pro-Hamas wing of the party. So you go for this guy, but then you overlook all this insanity. He was fiddling while Minneapolis was burning. Do you know this? He didn't call off the National Guard while the town was going nuts during 2020. I mean, this guy is, I don't know, man. I'd be scared. And by the way, one of the reasons why the markets are selling off, it may not be a Kamala crash that Trump said, but I'm telling you, I've been talking to a lot of investors. They are worried if she gets in there with him, they'll be really worried. She is much more progressive than Biden, they believe, especially left to her own desires. She's out there. Plus, she doesn't understand the economy. I mean, listen to her talk about inflation, Curtis.
Now,
I mean,
real quick,
it's a scary thing.
John has been harping on this, the need to cut that rate, that interest rate. Now, they're saying they're going to have an emergency rate cut. What, if at all, will that amount to?
I don't think they'll do anything. You see, I disagree with John on this. You know, he likes the low interest rates. Listen, first off, I think they're going to cut in September. I don't think they're doing anything unless you saw a headline just like come across. Everything I've been, I've been working out outside, so I didn't had my phone kind of almost off. But unless you saw a headline come across, they're going to wait until September, and they're going to take it down maybe 25 basis points because we still have. The problem is this is the sort of conundrum of Bidenomics, why it's so bad. Because you basically heap on so much regulation and taxes on businesses that you constrain the supply side of the economy. So if you get massive inflation, which we had when they printed all that money and he spent all that money on one stimulus plan after another, the only way to get rid of inflation literally is to slow down the economy, not to sort of increase the supply side by taking down regulations and having businesses do more. And that's the problem. So right now, you might have an inflation rate that's come down, but prices are still way too high. And that, and Powell knows it. The prices are like 20% higher than they were when Trump was in office. I mean, that's like and wages haven't really caught up. And, that's the problem with Bidenomics. And I think all this stuff, guys, is going to come out just like corporate wokeness is a bust. And, I interview Mark Cuban, who tries to defend it, and it's in the book. You can see what he said, the billionaire Democratic tech entrepreneur. But what he says makes no sense, filled with non sequiturs.
Well, Charlie, the Bidenomics that you mentioned has forced our favorite place when we were kids, White Castles, to offer $7.99 promotion for 10 cheese belly buster sliders. So the economy has trouble when all the fast food places have to drop their prices because nobody can afford fast food, not even White Castle.
Well, that might be a good thing, don't you think? It's kind of like one of those. It's like a sin tax, isn't it?
Well, I gotta go with you to Bamonte's in North Williamsburg. Bamonte's, Judge, you love it. All the judges, all the politicians, all the cops, all the mobsters go there.
I want to, Charlie, it's Richard Weinberg. I want to ask you this question. It seems to me that Harris has already said that she wants to raise taxes and having an 80% rate is okay with her, with the top earners. I mean, how do people vote for that and think that's going to be good for this country?
Well, I mean, obviously, most people aren't top earners, so that's maybe one way they vote for it. Listen, this is why I think, when she comes out from her stealth campaign, she has to at some point, explaining these bizarre policies, particularly someone as economically obtuse as she is going to shine the light on how ridiculous this presidency is of Kamala Harris' presidency. Listen, I know a lot of people that know her from California. I mean, she barely won as Attorney General, in a blue state. She coasted to victory because she was anointed to be, the U.S. Senator, and she wasn't very, active, aside from breaking, Brett Kavanaugh's chops and stuff like that. She flamed out during the campaign. Tulsi Gabbard just torched her in 2019 at a debate. She got credit because she called Biden a racist and she generated headlines. You remember that whole thing where she brought up the busing thing? Basically, she didn't exactly say he was a racist, but she heavily hinted at it. And then Tulsi, the week later, just took her out, and she didn't get one vote. And then, when Biden promises a black woman as VP, she's the one. She qualifies because she's the U.S. Senate.
Now, Charlie, I saw President Donald Trump on the stage. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to impale myself. Going for Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrency, which he had been opposed to as I am. What was that?
Well, one of his advisors is Vivek Ramaswamy. Just so you know, I cover this a lot, so I know a lot about this in a sense. And not just because I know a lot. My producer, Ellie Terran at Fox, is just like the crypto kid. I mean, here's the thing. Crypto, just play a little politics here. Crypto holders are a lot of them are like one-issue holders, and there's 40 million of them. And if you can appear pro-crypto, which the Biden administration has been anti-crypto, you might be able to tap into that. And what Ellie is actually reporting right now on Fox.com is that Kamala Harris is trying to catch up to Trump to try to appeal to the crypto people, even though it's going to be very hard because the Biden administration and its Securities and Exchange Commission, is just really cracked down on the industry. So that's why they all went to Trump. Crypto people gave Trump millions of dollars. Those guys, the Winklevoss twins, who were, some of the creators of Facebook. They're now big into crypto. They threw some money at Donald. So, there are votes there, and both parties are trying to get it. Trump has had a huge lead in that head start because Vivek, who, as you know, ran for president, he's a big crypto enthusiast. The entrepreneur, biotech entrepreneur, ran for president. And that's why Trump is now.
Charlie, you got any Bitcoin in your pocket?
No, I've never bought. I still haven't met anybody that has bought a slice of pizza with Bitcoin. By the way, Curtis, try going to Bamonte's and giving Anthony Bamonte a Bitcoin.
Oh, he'll take out the Rocky Colavito baseball bat and tell him you're washing dishes for the next week.
Yeah, hey, Anthony, I'm going to pay for my veal parmesan with this. And he'll look at you and say, why?
Oh, we should take the whole crew to Bamonte's. I don't think John and the judge have ever had that experience.
They will love it.
I'm ready.
Just, my wife grew up around the corner. That's how I know the Bamontes. My wife's first cousin, is married to one of the Bamonte girls. So I've known the Bamonte family since 1990 when I first started dating my wife. And I remember Williamsburg before it was Williamsburg. By the way, that neighborhood is the old Donnie Brasco neighborhood.
Yes.
Where all that went down.
I was just at the feast again. Monsignor Jamie. We got it. We got to go. These guys will not believe what Bamonte is. And they got the bocce court there. Like the old Il Vagabondo used to have the bocce court.
And the food is first rate. The place is spotless clean. It's been there for 100 years. The family is great. I know them all. And, you can't get a better Italian dinner.
Yeah, and Charlie convinced some of the guys, Curtis is my guest, to leave him alone. Leave him alone.
Yeah, Curtis, a lot of those guys with vowels at the end of their name, it's a tough sell with you. Why is that?
It is. But they accepted me because of you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Well, you guys are long-term friends. I mean,
this is through Paul.
I went to sleep for 10 minutes.
This is through Paul Carlucci, Johnny Legit. He put us together.
Curtis doesn't remember this because this is true. In 1980, I want to say 4, he was running the Guardian Angels big time. I interviewed him for the Pace University newspaper, and I followed him on the subways. And we had a photographer. You don't remember this? I do. I was a kid. It was like a career
40
moment.
years ago.
Yeah, it was I ran the Pace University newspaper called New Morning, and I have it somewhere. I got to show you, but literally, I remember you and what was the guy's name, Mott or something like that. It was
I tell you what, Charlie. Let's get together, especially when Paul Carlucci, Johnny Legit is in town.
Right.
And the 5 of us go to Bamonte's, and I'm telling you, John and Judge, you will have the time of your life.
By the way, breaking news that NASA is going to announce how they're going to rescue the astronauts from that Boeing aircraft.
Well, hopefully we'll hear it on the other side of midnight tonight with Frank Morano. Thank you, Charlie Gasparino. The name of the book again?
Go Woke, Go Broke, The Radicalization of Corporate America. And one more time, I want to thank Kamala Harris for selling more copies.
Thank you, Charlie Gasparino.
You're going to sell more than Bill O'Reilly this month.
Please, your lips to God's ears.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.